Okay. Elena, I saw your hand first.
Well, I can share, but very briefly, it's more of a question because I realize as we progress, as we talk more, there is a lot of information. And how do you keep up with that information? Is there like a good way that you recommend to organize? I mean, I'm struggling, even I have only one person, sort of in charge of one person, but what if I have several clients? I think I will have such a mishmash in my head between goals and levels and etc. Or does it just come as a practice?
Sure. So you're talking about like information as far as like about your client, the person you're working with?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So I only keep track of certain things. I keep track of their, like, for example, three main goals that they have, and the action stuff that they took that they committed to from last week, and any goals that they had for this week. So I basically make sure that I can have the information that I need to keep them accountable to what they gave their word to. And the way I do that is, like, I'll make sure at the end of my session, well, I mean, during the session, I'll also usually be taking some notes on these things. And then at the end of the session, I'll kind of like summarize it, just those main points. Okay, so this is the action steps for this week. These are some things to make sure I ask them about for this next coming session. Yeah, and sometimes I forget about things that happen, you know, like some things that were talked about, especially if, like you mentioned, if you're going to have, 5, 6, 7, 10 clients at a time, you're going to get things mixed up. You might get, mixed up on who had what breakthrough and kind of that kind of thing. But yeah, I'll usually, as long as I can keep track of those things, what they're accountable for, what their main goals are.
So just key points.
Yeah, key points, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I got it. That answers. And basically that was my experience of last week. Then I realized I need to be more organized in terms of note-taking, and because as we progress, I really need to some journal to look through. And
right. Yeah, it's definitely a good idea just to have some simple notes for sure. Okay. And Tanya, you also had your hand up.
Yeah. Can you hear me? It's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. So about last week coaching for these 7 levels of energy, I felt that there was one situation for still I feel it's troubling me. I understand here, but my heart is still in trouble. So what I have to say about this 7 level of energy, I felt that I want to go through this with this situation through this level. So this frame of 7 level of energy, I felt safe to share because it's not complaint. It's not stuck on the level of complaint or apathy or just sharing. It is the process which leading you, bringing you up next. So you going through your situation yourself, of course, with the help of the coach. And then it is and you start your situation with the intention to go up. So for me, it was important, to scream out, to speak out all I have in my heart, just let it go, basically, and just clear up my mind of the screaming of my heart. Because I cannot change the situation, but still I want to go through on the high levels of energy. So, and basically the high level was completely out of the situation in different area where I can find this energy and the happiness, and I felt basically it's okay. It's okay. So, and it was liberating, basically. Liberating experience. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's awesome. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, I think like one of the things that we provide people as coaches is just having that space to kind of clear things out, like you mentioned. When we have some, negative feelings, negative energy, just to be able to let that go with somebody just kind of not making it wrong that you're feeling that way, not making it wrong that you're thinking it that way, you know, just really being able to see this is just part of the whole process of, you know, where you're at now and where you want to be. And there's the next step, there's the next level. So yeah, I'm really glad that you're able to feel that sense of, you know, empowerment, that sense of release by just being able to be with that. So that's awesome. Very cool. Okay. So thank you for sharing, both of you. And as always, we'll have a little bit more time at the end for any Q&A if you guys have any more questions. So let's move on to the topic for today. So today's topic is kind of going off of the basis of last week, where we talked about the 7 levels of energy. So just a really quick review. Just going through the different perspectives, right? Start off with like a victim's mindset, and then moving on to more like a conflicting mindset where you're more thinking about, you know, blaming others, and there's this anger there. And then you want, you know, moving to that level of responsibility where you start to take a look at your own actions, start to take a look at what you can control and what you can be responsible for. Level 4, getting into concern. You start to think about other people, start to think about, you know, how can I serve other people? How can I make other people's lives better who might also be, you know, hurting, who might also be in pain? Reconciliation, you talked about, you know, being able to, you know, accept the situation for as it is and feel a sense of peace or release from that. Going into synthesis, where we can experience the sense of, you know, great joy and also like wisdom, tapping into our intuition, feeling a sense of guidance where we can really kind of see the pathway forward a lot more clearly, as well as kind of how we got there to where we are in the first place, how we've been guided to where we are. And finally getting to level 7, where it's this place of non-judgment, complete, you know, objective thinking, where there's no, it's not about black and white or right or wrong. It's about, you know, absolute passion. It's about what do I want to create in my life? What's going to get me really excited for my life? So those were the 7 levels of energy. And a big question that usually comes up with my clients because I'll usually go through one session where we're just going through these 7 levels, kind of like we did as a group last time. And I'll just go through them and I'll explain them, and I'll ask them for their own examples of when they experienced these different levels, just so that they can have more of a clear concept of what these are, and to gain their own sense of awareness with these 7 levels. But kind of the natural question after that, well, they'll ask me is, okay, so how do I change this? You know, how do I change my level of energy to this new state or a higher level of energy, which is, you know, it's a natural question to ask. And we talked about, you know, I gave some examples of questions that you could use as a coach to kind of help somebody guide them through these levels of energy to go up higher. This time I want to break down kind of the, like, what puts us in a certain state of mind. What are some of the factors that we see whenever we're in a certain level of energy or a certain emotional mental state? So what we're going to be exploring today is called the state triad. Okay, so when we talk about state, this could be an emotional state. We could see it as a psychological state, or an energy, a state of energy, is another way to look at it. But basically, when we're coaching somebody, everybody basically wants, you know, to go into a certain desired state. You know, there's their present state that they're in right now, where they're having their current challenges, they're feeling these certain emotions that they're feeling, and, you know, they have a certain perspective of life, and then they have a desired place that they want to go, and that's their desired state, right? If we look at state, we can basically break it down to 3 things. One is your focus, which will basically, you know, you're going to feel whatever you're focusing on. Okay, so for example, I'm sure, most of us have heard the saying, glass is either half full or half empty. You look at the same cup of water, and you could either focus on how empty it is or how full it is, right? And depending on what you're going to be focusing on, you're going to be feeling a certain thing. I was thinking, like, I think we've all experienced nervousness before, maybe some anxiety before. If you've experienced that before, can you put your hand up? So I know I'm not the only human being around. Okay. All right, good. Thank you, my fellow earthlings. So yeah, I also, there's a lot of times where I'll feel some kind of fear, anxiety, especially when there's something that's coming up in the future. For example, when I know I have to coach somebody, there'll be a lot of times where I'll feel kind of anxious about that, or I'll feel some fear around that, or doing a coaching training, doing this, thinking about this, a few hours ago, it was like, well, man, it's coming up, but, depending on what I was going to focus on, I took some time to reflect on, okay, what am I focusing on that's having me feel this anxiety? And what I found was, what I was focusing on was, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to look bad. I don't want to, I don't want to fail. So I was focusing on all of these possible negative outcomes. And then I asked myself, okay, what can I focus on? What can I focus on that would actually have me come to this session feeling powerful, feeling like ready to go. And I thought about, okay, what I can focus on is, I can focus on what I can do right now to prepare to make it the best that I could possibly make it. I can focus on how I want to serve people, and I can focus on my desired result, what I want to see through the session. And I thought about, I wanted to see, people engaged, people, interested. I wanted to see, people sharing about their victories from their coaching sessions. And when I focused on that, my feelings, my emotions changed, and I started to feel, much more proactive. I started to feel more powerful, and I started to take action. I started to, look at how I can prepare for this, and actually do something about the situation. And a lot of times when we're feeling stuck in life, it's just a matter of focusing on things that we either cannot control, or focusing on the reasons why we cannot move forward, rather than all of the ways that we can move forward and all the things that we can do. So that's the first aspect, is focus. And the way that we can change our focus is to ask a new question. Okay, so yeah, one more time. To change your focus, you ask a new question. So depending on the question that you're asking yourself, or somebody's asking you, your focus is going to change. So if you're asking yourself the question, what's wrong here? Or what am I doing wrong? Or if you're asking yourself, what if I mess up? What if I screw up? What if I can't do this? These are questions. And the minute when we ask that question, we're immediately starting to find an answer to that question. We're starting to think about, okay, what if I did mess up? Oh man, that wouldn't feel good. I wouldn't like that. What's wrong? Well, what's wrong is, this is wrong, and my environment's not right, and I didn't prepare enough, and thinking about all the things that are wrong. But at the same time, if you just change the question that you're asking to, well, what's right? What's actually going well right now? I've got years and years of experience as a coach. That's a good thing. I'm glad I have that. There's people that are actually showing up. That's a good thing. People are sharing, the past few sessions were really great. That's awesome. The more I ask myself that question, what's actually going right? What's going well? the more I'm going to feel a sense of excitement, peace of mind, and gratitude also. So when we're working with our clients, right, that's kind of what we're doing when we're asking questions, right? That's a big thing as a coach, is we ask questions. And the reason why we ask certain questions is to shift the focus of our client, right? Because a lot of times, you know, they're focusing not in a direction that's not going to get them to where they want. So we ask them a new question that's actually going to shift their focus to something more positive, more powerful, more productive. So that is, yeah, again, that's focus. And the next one is language. Another way to say that is meaning. So in everything in life, we are, you know, there's something that's happening in life. Like right now, we're here, we're on a Zoom call. I'm speaking, you guys are listening. You guys are muted, I'm not muted. All of this stuff is actually, like, these are facts. This is happening, right? But, you know, along with those facts of what's actually happening, there is meaning to that. There's some story that we're attaching to what's happening. You know, we're on a call. You know, what does that mean? It means that you know, this is a place to learn. This is a place where I need to focus. I really need to be present right now. You know, these are some words that we might be might be thinking to ourselves. But again, in the same way, you know, if you're ever feeling like nervous or anxious, you know, think about, you know, reflect on the words that you're actually using, the language that you're using. You know, words like, you know, I can't, it's scary, I'm afraid, it's difficult. You know, like, one of the things I always tell my, you know, English students is, like, when they say English is hard, I always tell them English is not hard, you know, because the more they say English is hard, then, you know, the more they're convincing themselves of how difficult this is going to be. So just being aware of, you know, in this situation, what words am I using? What does this mean to me right now? I'll give an example. When I was in high school, it's kind of a personal story, but I had this girl that I really liked in high school. Yeah, and I liked her for like a good few years. She was like my high school crush, right? and you know, I guess I was a very shy person, so I did not approach this person at all. But, you know, this feeling was very strong for like 3 years, until there was this one time where my friend had told me, oh, this girl said some bad things about you. They're spreading some rumors about you. And like, it was really interesting, because I could have taken that and gotten upset and said, oh, this person's so mean, and, you know, why would they do this to me? But for some reason, I immediately had this thought in my mind, wow, I'm free. I'm free from this person. Like, I'm free. I don't have to, like, have this crush anymore. I can just, like, you know, go get on with my life. And I was so excited, because, like, that's what it meant to me, that this person was saying these things about me. It was like, now I'm free. Like, this is amazing. And I never felt actually, like, more happier, to, you know, to have someone say things like that about me. But the point is, like, something that you might say, this bad thing happened, or this negative thing happened, but depending on the meaning that you personally give it, you know, you're going to have a very different reaction to it, or response. So yeah, that's the third one. Second one, sorry, is language and meaning. And the last one that I want to talk about is physiology. And physiology is just a, you know, big word for your body, how you move your body, right? So this has to do with, like, the mind and body connection, right? So just like, you know, our body, you know, moves because of what's, you know, internally happening. For example, if you feel if you feel anxious or you feel depressed, your body is going to react or respond a certain way. Okay, so if we did a little quiz show here, and I said to you guys, okay, I'll give you $1 million if you can describe what a depressed person looks like. Okay, I'll give you $1 million. I'm sure, I bet you'd be able to do it, right? So think about, okay, is that person's head looking up or is it looking down? Okay, I think it's looking down, right? Is their back straight, or are they more like, slouched over? Like, yeah, probably more slouched over. When someone's depressed, are they breathing deep and, all the way in and all the way out? And probably not. It's probably a lot more shallow. It's, unnoticeable. Their voice, their level of volume that they're speaking with. When somebody's depressed or feeling, scared or shy, are they going to speak with a loud, booming voice so that everyone can hear them? I don't think so. More often, they'll be quiet and a little bit monotoned, and I don't really want to talk about it right now. So yeah, so you get the picture, right? When someone's feeling a certain way, their body will express that internal state, that internal emotion or mentality that they have. In the same way, if you guys, if you felt like excited, or free, like Tanya, you're talking, when you're sharing, you're like, I felt so free, and what happened to your, your physiology? You're like free, and like automatically when you say free, it's like your hands go up, because, that's the mind and body connection. When you're feeling free inside and your mentality is free, your body becomes free. When you're feeling powerful, it's like bam, 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 moving fast, and it's great. And if you see like somebody, on a stage giving a speech, you don't see them. If they're really, you can see their confidence, their charisma. You'll notice they're not kind of, slouched over and kind of crossing their arms the entire time. They're moving their hands. They're dynamic. They're moving as they speak, and they might be, walking around, and they're opened up. So, yeah, anyway, just like the internal is represented and expressed externally through the body, actually the opposite can also happen. So this is kind of the easiest way to make a change in your state, actually, is just to move your body physically, okay? And if I am feeling nervous or feeling anxious about something I have to do, what I'll do is I will start to move differently. One thing I like to do is I have a little trampoline at home, and I just jump around, because that kind of forces my arms up, forces my whole body to move. And you can't really like jump on a trampoline and be depressed. It's like really hard to do. And even when I'm coaching, sometimes if I have the camera off, and when someone says something and I just want to I want to celebrate with them, but I might not be feeling like that energy, I'll just be like going like, yeah, like this, so that I can feel a sense of celebration for that person. I can generate that celebration for that person. I can say, yeah, that's amazing that you did that. That's awesome. So yeah, so changing our focus and asking a new question, changing what the meaning we're giving to things. This does take quite a sense of awareness, of self-awareness, of practice. But anybody can basically change their physiology. Anybody could just make a massive shift in the way they're moving their body, and immediately start to think more positively, immediately start to become more proactive. And so, the way that you can use this in your coaching is that, for example, asking people to take take deep breaths when you're having a sense that they're feeling anxious, they're feeling worried about something, or even like to, when you're doing a goal setting, to have them move around a bit, have them, shake it out a bit with them, so that they can raise up their energy level, so that they're in this kind of peak state and ready to actually take a look at their own goals, take a look at their solutions in life. Okay, so it's a really simple and powerful trick that you can use with your clients, but also practice it in your own life. Because when I learned this, I had no idea that how much my physiology, my posture, how much that impacted my internal state. And once I got that, it's just like a whole new option of how to live life, how to accomplish goals, and how to make changes became available to me. So this is basic the explanation about the changing, how to change our state using these three factors of changing your focus, changing the meaning, and changing the physiology. And next I want to go through what this might look like in a coaching conversation. So still the same format as the basic coaching conversation, and the format will basically always be the same. But this is, for example, if we wanted to kind of implement this this triad into our coaching, I mean, the first thing that you would do is to actually explain it, just like I just did with all of you. You want to explain it using your own personal examples, really get them to understand that how these three factors are playing a role in their life. But then going into a conversation, defining the problem, what's the challenge, what's the challenge you're facing right now, what specifically is the problem. And then when we get into analyzing, this is where we can see the triad coming into play. So what does this problem mean to you? Okay, so we're talking about meaning, we're talking about the language that they use. What do you say about this challenge or problem? Again, this is about meaning, language. They might be saying, oh, that it's hard, it's difficult, it's something that is beyond me. What are you focusing on that has this challenge occur? So they might be focusing on, what's wrong, what's difficult, how they're not enough, and I'm not good enough, and I don't feel worthy for this. What are they focusing on that's having this challenge occur, or having them feel maybe disempowered in moving forward in this challenge? And then asking, what is your physiology like when you experience this problem? If if their problem is something like, anxiety or waking up in the morning, right? Okay, so what do you do? What physically, what are you doing, right when you're waking up in the morning? What's the first thing that you do? So getting them to, this is to allow them to get more aware about these three aspects of the triad for themselves in relation to their problem. Reframing the problem as a goal and imagine. So this is same as usual. So what do you really want? And then brainstorming solutions, again, using the triad. So what would you need to focus on to overcome this challenge? Okay, I need to focus on, what I can do, what's in my control, what I can be responsible for. Okay, great. What would you need to say to yourself, or what would you need to believe in order to overcome this challenge? Well, I'd have to believe that I'm capable of doing this. I'd have to believe that that I'm enough, that I deserve this, that this is something that is possible for me, and something that I really want. Okay, that's great. And then how can you utilize your body to overcome this challenge? Okay, so when I talk to my my boss, who I'm kind of nervous around, I'm gonna just look at them straight in their eyes, and I'm gonna shake their hands, and I'm gonna breathe confidently, and have my shoulders back, and really like help them to visualize their physiology when they're coming up with solutions for their challenge. And then again, like visualizing the end result. So this is kind of, you can you can do all of this, while they're closing their eyes, while, having them visualize it to make it really real for them. And then plans of action. How can you make sure that this new focus, these beliefs, this physiology, that it really sticks with for you? Some of the things that some of my clients have thought up of, or I've also thought up of, is okay, so I'll write something and I'll print it out and I'll post it on my wall, kind of like an affirmation statement, so that I'm reminded every time I wake up, and I'm going to read that every morning, so that I can have these beliefs really present for me every single day. And then another thing that I'll do is just to introduce the idea of priming, or a morning routine. Priming is just kind of another way to say a morning routine, something where you're getting yourself into a peak state, into a higher level of energy right away from the morning, and getting into a practice where you're kind of jump-starting your emotional state for the day. And I'll ask them about any ideas that they have about having like a morning routine that would allow them to really get them in this peak state from the get-go. And I might also give some suggestions that I have, like meditation applications that I use, or exercise that I do. For example, I mentioned like trampoline is a really good exercise when you're specifically wanting to increase your state. So that's basically how I would implement that in a coaching conversation.